It's been a while since we covered a ridiculous rumour that absolutely makes no sense, but we have one today that fits the bill, so let's delve in. So the overall consensus regarding the upcoming iPhone SE4 has been the fact it should be based on the iPhone 14, which makes sense since Apple usually recycles older iPhones, and the iPhone 14 design, which really is basically a recycled iPhone 13, is exactly that. But of course, it is very rare for the leak world to completely agree on one rumour. There's always someone that comes out of nowhere and says, "No, this is wrong, I know what's gonna happen." And we have one such report today. So this comes from leaker Majinbu, who's somewhat credible, but with this report, I do advise you take a massive grain of salt, and you'll understand why soon. Essentially, they believe the next iPhone SE could feature a dynamic island, a vertical rear camera module like the one rumoured for iPhone 16, and similar dimensions to the iPhone XR. And well, I disagree with all of this. Actually, that's a lie. There is one thing I agree with, and that's the camera module. I can see this very much happening because we've heard the SE4 should have one camera on the back, and this would fit with the design language we're going to see with the iPhone 16 as well as the iPad Air 6. Also, giving us a new module would technically mean Apple can brand this as a new design in the marketing because yes, it will be ever so slightly different from the existing iPhone 14 design. But everything else is complete bogus. I am so sure of this. I will! Actually, no, I'm not going to make any insane bets because there is always a small chance these wild rumors do end up being right, and I don't want to be shaving off my eyebrows like a certain other YouTuber, but let me explain why I'm pretty sure this is going to be wrong. We begin with the idea of the dynamic island coming to the iPhone SE, and well guys, I just don't see why Apple would do this. The whole reason why the iPhone 14 design for the SE makes sense is because it looks old with the big fat notch, and Apple wants this iPhone to look worse than the newer, more expensive iPhones because guess what? They want to make more money and they want to upsell you to those more expensive devices. Tim is the master of upselling. We see this time and time again where they often handicap their lower and mid-range products just enough so that of course you can justify getting the highest end device. Let's take the regular iPhone 15 for example. I can look past 60Hz, but I know many who can't, and so they're going to be forced to get the Pros if they want promotion, and even if you go for the regular Pro, that doesn't get the best cameras, only the Pro Max does, and boom, Apple just got you to spend $1,200 on your new smartphone, and Tim is rubbing his hands together in joy because his cunning plan is working, since right now the 15 Pro Max is the best-selling iPhone in the range. And so with this new SE, they have to strike a balance where they offer just enough new to make it a decent purchase, but it's also not too good that it puts you off the higher-end models. If an average consumer walks into an Apple store and notices the SE looks exactly the same as the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro, it's gonna be much harder to upsell them, whereas of course, having a massive notch on the SE is gonna make it an inferior device, and that would get many to buy the higher end iPhone instead. Now ultimately, I'll still take the notch because this will be a massive upgrade over the archaic iPhone SE3 design that originated from the Stone Ages, but it makes complete sense why they would go for an iPhone 14 based design. And you know what else makes a lot of sense, guys? Subscribing to the channel, of course. I would greatly appreciate it, and it would bring you the latest commentary about the world of Apple right to your subscription box, so please consider it. It would be appreciated. We're trying to hit our next milestone of 16,000 subscribers, so join the Surroundbite gang now, and we can break down more crazy rumors like this together. Anyways, another aspect I disagreed with in this report is the size of the device. This report says it should be similar in size to the iPhone XR, which would make it larger than the current 6.1-inch iPhone. Now, I know what you're thinking, wasn't the XR also 6.1 inches? Well, yes, it was, but remember that had ginormous chunk bezels because it had an LCD display, so the actual footprint of the device is much larger. Based on the concepts Majinbu shared with us, it's clear Apple's not keeping LCD with the SE4 and they're moving to OLED, and so if it had a similar footprint to the XR, this actually should be a 6.3-inch or 6.4-inch device instead. And that absolutely makes no sense, okay? The SE has always been a parts bin device. it's so cheap for Apple to produce because nothing it offers is technically new. It's just a mishmash of components from other iPhones they already produce within their supply chain, so it's very hard to believe Apple is going to produce a new chassis size specifically for this device, because that would make it much more expensive to produce, and Apple wants to maintain those thick margins. So yeah, basically, I don't believe any of this for a second, and what's weirder is that Majimbu follows up this report by throwing out yet another absurd leak about 2 new iPhone SEs that are going to merge with the iPhone 16? I know you're confused, I am very much as well, but let me try and explain this. Essentially, there might allegedly be a new iPhone 16 SE. Wow, that's a horrible name, as well as an iPhone 16 SE Plus, and will include the Dynamic Island 1 camera 60Hz panels, but smaller batteries. Then there's going to be a mid-range iPhone 16 with 120Hz, and also a larger battery, and finally we have the Pro models as per usual, but they do have some weird looking modules. This is all a confusing mess to say the least, and has a 0.00001% chance of actually being right, and to make things worse, apparently the 16 SE and 16 could be the same price, so you can either choose to buy a phone with less storage and 60Hz for $699, or get 120Hz and more storage for the same price. That clearly makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I just don't buy any of this for a second, guys. Why would Apple even start the range at $699 in the first place, when that would leave out a huge portion of the market who can't afford such expensive devices? And so the new SE should be $450 or $500 max. I think that's fair if it's based on the iPhone 14 design. Now, I do want to mention that this new possible iPhone similar in size to the XR could just be the iPhone 16 Pro, because we've heard about that getting a larger display anyways, and so I'll give Mr. Majimbu the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully he's just mixing up information, because it's crazy to me he believed all of this in the first place. I am aware things can change since the iPhone SE isn't expected to release till early 2025, but with Apple's low-end products, it's pretty easy to predict what they're gonna do, since they're usually a parts bin device. As I said earlier, Apple's been doing this for years, and so I doubt they're gonna change up the formula now because it works so well. And so, as I've said numerous times, this new SE is just gonna be a rebranded iPhone 14. And that's fine. I'm sure it's still going to do well, it's going to offer just enough for the majority of iPhone consumers, and it should still be a pretty big upgrade over the archaic iPhone SE3. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.